Good afternoon. My name's Eric Doyle, and I'm delighted to have been asked to host the very first OGV Energy Live, a brand new and interactive show aiming to deliver news and insight from the energy sector by bringing to life the UK's leading energy industry publication, of course, OGV Energy Magazine. Each month, we're going to feature interviews and discussions with our partners from the publication and update you on all the latest topics and news and opinions from our fully interactive platform. So don't be shy. If you're out there already and you're watching the show, drop a hello and tell us where you are in the chat. Throughout the show, we're going to be interviewing some really fantastic people and bringing some people onto the platform to have excellent discussions. Feel free to drop in questions or comments, and we'll try and cover as much as we can with our guests. So, of course, for those of you who know and have read this month's magazine, it's about the subsea issue. So we're going to be welcoming guests and contributors who featured in the publication, starting with Neil Gordon, the CEO of the Global Underwater Hub. Then we're moving on to what will become a monthly fixture, our Industry Spotlight section, where we check in with companies working in the sector that we're featuring. So for today's subsea theme, we'll be checking in with Stephen Cochrane, Business Development Director at Robotics Subsea, Andy Buchan, CEO of HireTech. We've got Ewan McLean, Commercial VP at ProServe, and Matt Blair, Executive Director at JNS Subsea. We'll then be moving to what will be another regular feature of our show, a section we're calling Market Watch, where we'll hear all the very latest in swings and trends and observations from the markets, from Westwood Global Energy Group, Norman Broadbent, and the EIC. And our final segment of the show is where we turn the spotlight to you, the OGV community, in a feature imaginatively titled OGV Community News. In this month's Community News, we're going to be checking in with Broadbent Group, Global Maritime, and Regen Robotics. So now it's time to introduce our headline guest. You may remember this person as a commercial diver, or as his time managing the National Hyperbaric Centre. His career has been rich and varied, taking him across working and developing business in India, the Middle East, Africa, and Brazil. And he's played a significant role in leading the transition of the UK subsea industry to become recognised as a standalone industry operating in a diverse range of sectors. Currently a director of Opito and the OTF, and a member of the OGA Supply Chain and Exports Task Group, you may know him better as the Chief Executive of the Global Underwater Hub. It is, of course, the wonderful Neil Gordon. Neil, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Eric. Thanks very much. That's a wonderful intro.
It really was our first ever show on OGV Energy Live. Fantastic. It's got a great look about it and feel already, and it's lovely that we've got some people jumping in to say hi and good afternoon. We've got people from all over. Fantastic, great stuff. So let's start. For those of you who haven't picked up yet on it, could you walk us through the thinking behind the transition to Global Underwater Hub?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully many of the folk that have tuned in today will have known the history of Subsea UK. Subsea UK was an organisation formed back in 2003, 2004. And over 15 years, it's been a very strong, successful organisation. But after that 15 years, we were looking at what does the next 15 years look like for the industry? And this was basically about 3 years ago. We started looking at what does the future of the underwater industry look like? So thinking about the blue economy, the much broader blue economy across all the other sectors, a lot of what we have done over the years has grown up in oil and gas, but we looked at things like offshore wind, aquaculture, defense, subsea mining, all these things that are emerging in the blue economy. And it's a massive, massive sector that's going to set to grow to about $3 trillion by 2035. So we really looked at that and said, we are world leaders currently, taking a third of the global market of the current industry, but are we capable of growing that third of that market as it increases over the years? And we really said we need to get after this. So we went to government and we said we really need to build a much, much stronger, bigger organization and get some recognition of this sector and get after that. So that was the reason behind it. And we were successful in getting support from both Scottish and UK governments to build the Global Underwater Hub. So that journey sort of started off a couple of years ago, and we launched a soft launch at the back end of last year. We've got a new building which we've established here in West Hill in Aberdeenshire, just outside Aberdeen, and we've got plans to develop more. So that was the reason behind it. And part of that, what we're going to be doing is really looking at how that broader underwater industries can capitalise, let's say, on the supply chain that we've got. So it's about growth. It's about creating the jobs, the technology, and the exports. So I could talk for hours on this, but I realise we're tight for time. But I'll let you maybe steer the conversation of what you want me to pick up on.
Well, of course, absolutely. And we'll return to some of those brilliant topics in a second. Next week, of course, we've got the return of Subsea Expo, which everyone's been looking forward to. I think when we were chatting previously, you said that Subsea Expo might have been one of the last shows to happen, and now it's one of the first coming back, right? So what's the feel and the vibe within GUH and the wider Subsea community about the return of Subsea Expo?
You mentioned there the timing, I think, has been very fortunate for us. Last one and first back again, when all indications next week, the registration numbers are way up in the thousands. Good exhibition, great conference program. And looking at particularly on LinkedIn, there's a lot of activity out there. Folk are just dying to get back to actually meet face to face and see a lot more of business done in a face to face environment. So overall, I think it will be a great week. We will have a lot of visitors from around the country, and I've been hearing from overseas visitors as well, actually saying that they're intending coming across as well. We won't have the same numbers perhaps as we've had in previous years just due to some of the restrictions, but I think under the circumstances, I think we're going to have a really busy show, and there's going to be lots to see and hear. Certainly in the plenary session, we'll be talking a lot more about what cross-sector means. How are we working with a lot of those other sectors, and some great speakers involved in that. And there'll be some focus on the defence sector and what they're doing with ourselves, and also particularly around marine science and some of those more scientific parts of the environment and what that actually means for the future as well. But overall, a great buzz out there, and I think it's going to be a great week next week.
Oh, superb, fantastic. One of the things you've spoken about, and one of the things we associate with Subsea UK is innovation and pushing forward with, thinking for tomorrow and all of that. How would you gauge what the impact of how we've had to work over the last couple of years? Is that impacted innovation? Has it held it at a steady state? Has it actually bucked the trend and pushed it forward? Where are we with the kind of innovative thinking that Subsea's been famous for?
I think the past 2 years, I talked about us going into lockdown a couple of years ago, and at our last expo in 2020, we were talking about net zero and energy transition. And that was really about how do we think about getting on that journey. We went into lockdown, and I think because you go into lockdown, everything slows down, and it's almost like going into hibernation in a little. But as we've come out, or are just coming out now, and the world looks completely different. As we've been through lockdown, there's been COP26, there's been a lot of push in net zero and energy transition. So with this view of the future, when we come out and looking forward in 2022, is quite different before we went into lockdown. So that's quite challenging for a lot of companies to understand. It's not the same linear path that was straight ahead. It's much more broad across the horizon because we're talking about so many different technologies. Oil and gas is here and will be for some time, but there is a real push to look at bringing in other technologies. So offshore wind, floating wind, wave and tidal, defense, aquaculture. There's so many things happening that are opportunities for that underwater sector. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to help identify those opportunities and share them with the supply chain, then match that up and find out what technologies can be pulled through or developed and I suppose commercialized in that space. So when you talk about what's slowed down, I think the industry has coped quite well, considering all the restrictions that's been put on it. There is a huge amount of money being pushed in new technology, and I think that's where, again, as an organization, we'll be able to help identify where some of those monies could be coming from and where will be challenged or channeled, I should say, as well. So working with a lot of other organizations, because we can't do all this on our own. There are plenty of other organizations out there that we'll be working with to try and make sure that those investments in technology have a good commercialization route to market as well, and that's where we can help a lot more.
Oh, fantastic. Just a reminder out there to our viewers or anyone who's listening in, if you've got a question or a comment you'd like to put to Neil directly, you have the man here. We can put it up on screen and he can deal with that question directly. So let us know and we'll do that. So pushing forward, you mentioned it earlier on. I'm fascinated by this. Since the first time I heard the words, I've been looking into it. So this sustainable development approach to coastal resources being top of mind for many people across sectors. The term blue economy, how would you, if you were trapped in the elevator for 30 seconds and someone stuck a mic in your face to describe the blue economy and what it means for the average Joe and Joannes like me out there, what does it mean?
It means quite a lot to different folks, actually. But when we look at the blue economy, it's everything to do with the ocean, whether it's industry, whether it's environment, whether it's leisure. And that blue economy brings in the maritime, things that float on top of it, underneath and on the seabed. But we look at the part that's underwater, beneath the seabed and the surface in that subsea space. So things that we identify more like are with offshore energy, aquaculture, but other parts of that blue economy could be commercial fishing, it could be tourism, boating, maritime yachts, cruising. All these sort of things can come into that whole blue economy. If it's in the ocean, it's part of the blue economy, but we've got to try and fix on the part where there's an underwater element. And that's what our job is to look at, where the key areas such as energy, where we've been in oil and gas, but there's a massive growth in offshore wind, for example, and wave and tidal in that space. And that's where there's a lot of international investment, and certainly the UK is leading a lot of that at the moment in the energy transition.
Oh, very good, very good. Just checking in with our viewers. We've got Simon saying good afternoon from a cold day in Scotland. Hey, we're truly international. Matt's coming in saying good afternoon from Clat. We're getting that far. We're getting massive global reach here. It's going well. But we've had some people saying there. Vanessa in here from Brazil. Hi, Vanessa. Good to have you with us. And we've got a LinkedIn user in here from Sweden with us as well. So we got a wee bit further than Clat, but it's good to see that we're there. One of the biggest aims, and another thing you discuss a lot in the magazine, is collaboration. Now, we've heard about the need to collaborate for a long time. It's been an industry buzzword for a long time, but it seems as if from what you're talking about, you're trying to take this whole collaborative effort a little bit deeper. Who would you say are, we used to say that oil companies need to collaborate with the service community, but you seem to be speaking a little bit wider now with the regulators, the governments and things like that. Who takes the role in this collaborative effort moving forward?
Yeah, collaboration's a word that's overused, and I think it's more about strategic partnerships. It's how do you work together in some of these things. So we've got some great relationships with, for example, the defence sector, already existing with the oil and gas operators, and part of that as well across into other sectors. But not just the industry. We have to work with some of the other sector, we would call it organizations. So likes of the ORE catapults, we have worked with them for quite some time. I was on a call this morning with Scottish Enterprise and their resources that can help companies. So although we want to try and cover quite a lot, what we're going to try and do is join up the dots. The whole, I suppose, the model of the Global Underwater Hub is a hub and spoke model, creating 3 hubs across the UK. We create a hub in the northeast of Scotland here, one in the north of England and one in the south of England. And within those hubs, they will have facilities and market intelligence that's available to be able to show where those opportunities are, but we'll also know what the supply chain capability is. So how to connect those capability, those companies to the opportunity, and give them support on that journey as well. So that means perhaps we need to work with experts in some of the defence sectors, perhaps with what's happened in the ScotWind round recently, where there's a lot more in offshore floating wind, where there's a lot of experience and capability that's transferable from the subsea sector into offshore floating wind when you look at floating structures, anchoring and seabed systems, dynamic cables, and all the other associated technology. So help and identify where there is a capability that's transferable across and help in matching that up. So that is a collaboration, is working with different agencies, different organizations to make sure that there is a working together, because we're all trying to achieve the same thing. It's about creating the jobs, the technology, and the exports for UK PLC.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Just checking in with Ben there, excited for Aberdeen's energy transition journey and the great opportunities this will bring. Absolutely. We're right there with you on that, Ben. You've spoken a lot about how energy transition doesn't just mean handouts. It's actually about a structured plan in place. Energy transition is on the tip of everyone's tongue right now. It used to be, I remember the business cards that said oil and gas, and then Enviro and renewables, and then Enviro after that and decommissioning, and now Enviro it's energy transition. Everybody is clamoring to get a part of what this all means. How would you crystallize when you're at your glamorous cocktail parties doing what you do? How do you crystallize energy transition and what it really means?
It's a very complex process, I would say. often when we talked in the early days about energy transition, was a case of this moving from let's say the hydrocarbon world to a green energy. Now it's a much more, well, the second word is the clue there. It is a transition. It takes time. It takes plans, and you can make those high-level statements. This is what we want to achieve by such and such a time. Okay, but then you have to look at the building blocks and what the impacts are. And when we've talked about energy and transition, there has been pullback on support for companies that are working in oil and gas and exports, and there's been some pushback from industry about that. I always say, if we've got a timeline, if I think about where we are currently in offshore energy and where the energy transition and opportunities are, there is a gap, but we want to make sure that we don't have that massive gap where those opportunities disappear. So if we look at decline in, say, oil and gas side of things, and there's been a lot in the public domain this past while, what happens is if we don't have those projects that are sustaining that supply chain, that capability could get lost. If the energy transition is slow to appear, then we might have a depleted supply chain. So we'll have to make sure that that energy transition opportunities and that managing that decline is a much closer together. So there is that sustainable, just transition, because it does take time. It's a longer process. It's not a switch off overnight, but I think it's a much more complex, what we call it, debate that goes in behind this. We all want to try and achieve that, but being realistic in the time scale and how we're going to do it is quite a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Keep in mind, we've only got this man here for another couple of minutes. If you have a question or a comment for Neil, chuck it into the chat. We've got Sonia saying, good afternoon from Bertling Logistics. Great to see so many people online. Lee from ETPM saying hi from ETPM. And we've got Diane saying hi from Hunter Apparel. Looking forward to meeting all at Subsea Expo. Everyone's getting excited. There's a buzz. There really is a buzz. Fantastic. So, if you have a question for Neil, we've only got a few minutes left. Just in closing, a theme that I picked out of the magazine that I saw that you were writing, and it's a term that I've seen being put around as oceans of opportunity. What does that mean for the people on the street that are reading this, oceans of opportunity? Because I like the ring about it. It's got a positivity about it.
I think the oceans of opportunity, we always look at a theme to say, well, what is it? I think we've got to look at this oceans of opportunities. I've said, coming out of that hibernation mode almost into 2022, looking at what's happened, and there's a real push around the world on climate change. There's a real push on energy transition. But that ocean of opportunity is, my goodness, it's such expansive when we bring in some of those technologies. Because individuals, companies, people looking for careers will be saying, well, where do I go? You know, what's happening in hydrogen? What's happening in CCUS? What's happening in offshore wind? So that ocean of opportunity has got to be really clarified. And that's part of our role, is to help understand what that means for companies, for individuals and the supply chain, but also help us to talk to companies and government to say, this is how we can help manage that ocean of opportunity and get the best out of it for companies in the UK. So the oceans meaning blue economy, opportunity meaning the horizon is very, very wide, but you've really got to start looking at and plan your future. The next 10, 15 years are really exciting, but they're not linear. They're not very straight ahead. It is much, much broader. So picking and looking at where those opportunities will be coming in and where the best opportunities will be is so important for companies at the moment.
Ross Jolly has waited till the very last minute of you being on to ask a thumping question that you could probably spend an hour answering. What role do you see digital solutions having in the oil and gas industry's future? A brilliant question from Ross, and thank you for posting it, Ross. In closing, what do you think?
So many things in digital. We've been working in digital for a long time, but it depends what you mean by digital and enabling, or how do you look at data and all these various things. But I think if I pick in one area which is relevant to the offshore, the underwater industry, is about the remote side of things. We talk very much about underwater autonomy, capturing data and analytics. Those areas are going to make quite a big difference, I think, in the future of oil and gas when it comes to planning, artificial intelligence, how you can actually engineer projects and make those decisions a lot quicker, so quicker to produce. But certainly managing more efficiency in reducing the carbon footprint, but perhaps smaller vessels, less manpower offshore, more technology involved in managing and monitoring those operations. So that's one area. I could talk about many, many others, and I'm sure we could, but that's just picking on one. Certainly the underwater robotics and the autonomy and the data analytics and how we manage systems remotely is a good one.
Absolutely fantastic. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Thanks for taking the time. All the best for your continued work with GUH and for Subsea Expo next week and for the future. Thank you so much for being with us, Neil. We'll see you soon.
Thanks very much, Eric. My pleasure.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Our first guest done. Let's check in with some of our lovely commenters. Thanks OGV for setting this up. I can't agree more on the collaboration opportunity. Collaboration is very different to subcontracts. Absolutely, great point there from Stephen. Drew Alexander, a great new show, very engaging. Can't wait to see everyone at Subsea Expo. Fantastic. And from Emmanuel, thanks for sending in your question. Great insights. Thumbs up for OGV. Yes, without a doubt, big time. So thanks very much to Neil. That was our headline guest. It's now time to turn the spotlight to companies working in the sector that we are currently featuring. And of course, being the Subsea edition, we're focusing on subsea companies. So we're very pleased to have with us, and I'm going to try and do this in the proper order, Stephen Cochrane from Robotics Subsea. We've got Andy Buchan from Higher Tech. We've got Ewan McLean from ProServe. And we've got Matt Blair from JNS Subsea. How about that? What a brilliant looking screen. How are you all?
Doing well, thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Did you manage to hear any of Neil's section there?
I did indeed, yeah. Very relevant, on the button.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. You are at the sharp end of the industry that we're featuring, the subsea industry today. Thank you so much for joining us. If it's okay, we'll pull round from clockwise and go round. So Stephen Cochrane, BD Director at Robotics Subsea. How are you, and how have the last few years been for you, Stephen?
Yeah, doing fine. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for also the opportunity to speak here this afternoon. It's good to hear from Neil, and certainly echo the sort of buzz to get back into the exhibitions next week for kickoff. So, the last few years for Robotics. First of all, Robotics Subsea, what do we do? We are a technology-driven company. We design, build, and fabricate our own equipment for the renewable and oil and gas market, trenching systems, seabed systems. We've been operating since the 1990s, and we're very much in the energy transition. We've been working in renewables for about 10, 15 years and just adapting. But I guess the last few years for us, it's been very, very busy. We've been primarily involved in renewables and oil and gas, but we've seen huge growth in the renewable sector. We've continued to invest in new equipment. We have designed and built a wide range of tooling. We've invested over 3 million in the last sort of 2-3 years, bringing new jetting technology to the market. We've added new subsea grabs, cutting products to the fleet. We've focused on the four main sectors for us, which is pre-commissioning, commissioning, IRM, and decommissioning. We've made several key appointments to meet and plan for the global growth in Europe and abroad. So I guess to summarize the last few years, we've continued doing what we do best, which is building the best equipment for the market, employing the right people, technology, innovation. That's the backbone of the company. The R&D is really what Robotics is all about. And we've continued to meet clients' expectations. And we see positive signs ahead. We know we've got a big backlog of projects. We've got growth in the company, and we're making big plans and investment for the future, Eric.
So in terms of projects-based company and all of that, has anything changed for you on the project side? Were you doing a particular type of work before, and something's now changed because of the difficulties of logistics or anything like that, or is it have you managed to just pull through this relatively unscathed?
Well, to be honest, when COVID hit, I think everybody was probably in the market concerned. How are we going to deliver? How are we going to meet projects home and abroad? In 2020, we had just won 2 massive campaigns in Asia, but we managed. We saw the company mobilize equipment and people from Europe over to Asia. And we managed to do all that from our own doorstep, which is testament to the people, the technology, and I guess new opportunities and scopes of work. Because of the equipment, we were able to tackle pre-commissioning scopes like boulder clearance, sand wave scopes over in Asia. We delivered commissioning scopes with new jet trenching systems for major wind farms. And again, just to repeat myself, a huge testament to the company, the people, to achieve the growth in Asia from Aberdeen, from our own doorstep, and that's to do with communication.
Big time. Well. You've mentioned communication a lot, and it is a kind of theme on this show: communication and collaboration. But and I might be answering my own question here. What would you say that we've learned as an industry in the last few years? What's really been hammered home to us? And we've all come out of it as professionals, coming out of it. What's new in the toolbox? What have we learned?
I guess it's not new. I guess it's just doing it better. And what I would mean by that is, business continues. You've got to find new ways. You've got to be proactive. You've got to communicate internally and externally to win and secure business. And I think you have to stay close to the client and the market. I think that's key. And I think you've got to trust one another. We've put a lot of trust in our staff to work from home. We've been flexible. We've had to adapt. And I think that's the mindset of Rotech, in that we're a solutions-based company. And one thing we're always proud of is, we get out there and we face and we meet challenges. We bring solutions in. And just to kind of summarize, I think, for example, next week, we're proud to exhibit at Subsea Expo and to echo kind of what Neil Gordon has said, to mix and network and collaborate in person once again. You can't beat that. You have to be in front of people to win opportunities. Through teams is quite difficult, but looking forward next week to getting back on the ground and meeting people in person again.
Nice one, Steve. Thank you so much. We'll check back in with you in a second. Moving to Andy, CEO of HireTech. Andy, for those who don't know, give us a little elevator speech on what HireTech's all about.
Oh, HireTech, good afternoon. HireTech's an equipment rental business. We also supply personnel to support our equipment. So we're predominantly involved in supporting decommissioning, pipeline commissioning, well servicing, subsea operations, anything where you're looking for equipment, pumping, hydraulics, deploying umbilicals. We've recently got into shears and grabs for the decommissioning market as well. So just quite back of deck boat sort of equipment is really where we're at.
And if you follow HireTech at all, you probably realise that they have the universe's largest iWOX reel. It's absolutely humongous. Is it true that that's the largest you've ever built, or one of them?
It's the largest one that we've built. We got an inquiry for that in November, and we had a very short time scale, 12 weeks to build it. So the first thing we had to do was go out and measure the road and see if we could actually get it out about once we built it. So we measured up the road. We actually we had to move a few traffic lights, but we got that done. So yeah, very, very proud to have delivered that in such a quick time, particularly with the way the suppliers were, they were all having their issues. So we had to make sure that it was proven technology. It was, although it was the biggest one, it was basically just scaling up some of the technology that we had.
Yeah, absolutely. And, congratulations for those who follow you guys and follow you. The Queen's Award for Industry was a fantastic, I'm sure it was a fantastic time and a great thing to be part of. Great experience.
Yeah, the Queen's Award for Enterprise, we won the international trade. We won that in 2020, and of course, as soon as we did that, we went into lockdown. So yeah, that was that had its own challenges, but great benefit. We were out at ADIPEC, and it's just the Queen's Award it's got so much prestige when you go overseas. So when you're at the various exhibitions, it's really a good tool. So yeah, we're and part of our strategy is internationalization. So it kind of falls in hand with where we're trying to get to.
Fantastic. Now you've gone public with your commitment to supporting young people in industry. It's something that's very close to your heart and something that you're bringing very much to the fore in these days here. So do you want to tell us about what you're doing there and what your focus is?
Yeah, well, I mean, during the first lockdown, to be honest, I think everybody was having to look at their business hard, and we just wanted to pull in fresh eyes. So we actually took in a couple of interns into the business to help us just go and analyze everything that we were doing, because we knew we were going to have to make a few changes. So it was actually just when these interns came in, it was just an eye-opener to me. I just thought, my goodness, I never thought we would get so much out of people. So when we've come out of lockdown, we've gone and we've now taken in graduates, and they're full of energy, full of enthusiasm. They're also bringing in new skills. Darren that's joined us, he's got an MSc Environmental Management, so he's leading the charge for us and that. So yeah, something that we had probably been overlooking a little bit. We've in the workshop we've been doing it. We've been always running the apprenticeship scheme, but to take the youngsters into the management team, really driving us forward. Really pleased with the progress we're making with that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll circle back with you in just a second. Just remember, we've got Stephen, we've got Andy, we've got Matt and you in here. We've got them trapped on screen. They can't escape. If you have a question for them, fire it at them. Let's make it as complex as possible. And especially for Stephen. Let's get him working. Absolutely. No, in all seriousness, if you've got something that you want to say, like Adam here saying, you can feel the excitement for Subsea UK next week. There is an excitement building. It's fantastic. Thank you, Andy. Moving on to Ewan, Commercial VP at ProServe. How's the last couple of years been, Ewan?
I would say it's a roller coaster. So it's had downs and ups. I think it's probably the easiest way I would describe it. I'd like to focus on the ups because
yes, please do.
It's much more enjoyable than the downs.
Yes.
I think from our controls technology perspective, we're just seeing customers that are there's no longer sort of inquiries where they're price checking. There's inquiries because they're wanting to do projects. So we're seeing a lot more sort of activity going ahead. We're booking a lot, double the amount of work that we had this time last year. So we're certainly we're enjoying the upswing of the roller coaster, I'd say.
Very good, very good. Now, in chatting with you, you've mentioned about all the work that's picking up for you or has been ongoing in the Middle East. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So, well, from the Middle East perspective, it's offshore, but it's more topside than subsea. But looking at that Middle East work, we've been asked by an operator out there to carry out some topside maintenance programs across all their offshore assets. A lot of them are unmanned, and they send us off without the company there, and they'll just send us off to carry out our integrity assessments on the equipment, the controls equipment. But then associated with that, it's all the ancillary equipment that's driven by the controls equipment. So what we like about it is the trust and the relationship that we got with our customer in allowing us to improve the reliability and performance of their equipment. Right. But secondly, they're recognizing that they see the controls as the integral part that's actually driving all the other systems. And that's how we see the world naturally, because we're a controls technology company. Mm-hmm. But from that perspective, we see how we can improve the overall performance of the asset via the controls and improve that reliability performance for the customers. Outstanding.
We spoke earlier with Neil Gordon about energy transition and GUH's take on that and position on that. Now you're deep inside this energy transition space. What does it mean for you practically?
So it's a really fascinating part of the market for us. We're fundamentally taking our technology that we deploy in oil and gas environments, and we're collaborating with new partners. One of them just popped up on screen earlier, and we collaborate with these technology specialists and partners combined with our technology to come up with better solutions for these renewables customers. And the common things that I see in these seascape environments are it's really costly when something goes wrong. Right. And it's unmanned. There's no one down there. So you need data, you need fast data, you need an ability to interpret it, and you need the confidence that you can actually adapt and tweak and optimize the system via through our controls capabilities to actually improve the overall performance from that asset. Whether it's an offshore wind turbine, a fault in a cable on Dogger Bank, or there's a whole host of areas where you're using that equivalent technology and you're deploying it into a renewable space.
Very good. Thank you very much. We will circle back with you again. Thank you so much to Matt Blair for your patience, sitting there in silence, just percolating all these ideas of how you're going to trump all these guys with your magnificent responses. Just for everyone, JNS Subsea, just want to give a bit of a headline of what it is that you guys focus on.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. No pressure there.
No pressure.
That's fine. So excuse the croak, bit of a cold, that's all it is. GNS Subsea has been on the go in its present incarnation since October 2020. MD who's been around the subsea part of the industry for long enough might remember the old GNS, which was bought by SEA in 2015, which was an interesting time to be bought at the start of the oil downturn. And we did a management buyout during 2020, so we're now sort of 17 months into that process. So an interesting time to do it, some interesting challenges along the way, but it's been good because it's allowed us to adapt the way we need to. SEA was actually a large defence organisation, and it was they were very slow, very difficult to get any changes done. So we've been able to start with a blank sheet and say, okay, what is it that we really want to do here?
Okay, very good, very good.
To probably say a wee bit about what we actually do, we're in is subsea controls, subsea engineering generally, but specifically around late life subsea controls, mainly at the back end of the OPEX market is where we operate on the support side of things.
So that whole OEM has to be OEM. The OEM discussions move forward somewhat, and you operate very much in that space, don't you?
Yeah, we do. It's been interesting. There's constant change. That's the nature of this industry and a lot of the technology that's driving the industry, but also the business model's changing. I mean, we're talking here about energy transition. We talk about subsea engineering being an engineering discipline rather than being an industry. And it's how you apply that into different industries, a lot of similar skill sets. But I think one of the big changes that we've seen since 2015 is that the operators are more willing to look at the supply chain. There was the supply chain action plan that came out of OGA a few years ago, and that's really caused the operators to look at how they get what they need. And so it's not always going back to the OEM. That's a big difference that we've seen, and we've had a chance really to get a foot in the door with some of these guys.
Yeah, very, very good. Now, I have to ask you, because it sounds exciting, it sounds very interesting. It sounds like simple in concept, but I'm sure it's not. Legacy locker, what's all that about?
Well, that probably goes back to 2015 as well. When 2015 came, everyone was really very concerned about where the industry was going with the way the oil price was. And we looked at what we did. We looked at a lot of the services we'd offered previously, and we wrapped them up in a kind of concept called Legacy Locker. And the basic idea of it is, don't come to us saying, here is the solution I need. Come to us saying, here's the problem that I have. Because a lot of this stuff is to do with obsolescence, it's to do with long lead times and equipment. And on one level, it's a very fast turnaround, borrow and replace of equipment, where we share equipment lists with clients and with others. At another level, it can be reverse engineering, it can be refurbishing. And there's challenges within the industry. I mean, one of the things that we're trying to promote is this idea of remanufacture, because it's not a thing we talk about in the industry, but actually part of what we do in I'm on my soapbox now, but we're doing some interesting stuff around CO2 savings analysis, where we're taking one of the projects we did on a remanufacture and compared it going back to the OEM. And I think this is the type of thing that the oil companies are looking for now as part of the whole transition argument as well. So, yeah, interesting time. So that's the idea behind Legacy Locker. At the one level, it's just a very fast response, but it's actually evolved into something where we're being seen to be part of the green process, because the whole remanufacturing, reuse, repurposing.
That speaks very much to the whole circular economy thing, which it's very topical right now. Absolutely, guys. We've come to the end of this section. However, I would like to bring a huge thumping question that Ross Jolly asked, and put it out to you guys, and any one of you can grab it. Please, one of you grab it. What do you see the role of digital solutions having in oil and gas industry's future? Who wants to grab it? Just one of you. Yes. Yeah.
We face this problem where we have, to me, the first challenge is making sure you've actually got access to the data before you can even, talk about a digital solution. And to me, that is actually making sure that you've got what I'd call the open protocol, but also making sure that you're getting the data in a timely fashion, so as close to real time as possible. I think, and we're working to make sure that that happens, and that is a challenge. But that to me, you've got to get that bit first. Then we can go on to all your trend analysis, start applying your insights and so on. But I think making sure, let's just get that first step right, making sure we've got good, accessible data in a timely manner, and then making sure that that's available for people to do their best sort of diagnostics and analytics on. That's
great answer. Now, a big thumping question, but I don't want to just let it go because it was really nice of him to write this. Victor has asked an enormous question about manpower issues and resources. How are we tackling potential bottlenecks with that? Can anyone give me a short and punchy answer to that one? Andy,
well, we've got to bring in new people and we've got to do training. That's how it is. We've probably coming into our 7th year of very little training in the industry per se. So it's going to be bringing in new blood and training them.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And I think within that, it's also a lot of people, we've been told it's all about Generation Z, and I'm got so much grey hair, I don't even know what Generation Z is, but it's young people are looking for other things, and it's understanding what is going to attract people into the industry in the first place. It's not going to be pure oil and gas. It's going to be that whole wider energy thing, renewables and such like. So it's a wider challenge as well.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on for our industry spotlight this month. Thank you so much. If you have individual questions, please go and connect with these guys on LinkedIn or elsewhere and send them questions direct. For now, thank you so much to Stephen, to Andy, to Matt, and to Ewan. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Outstanding. That was great. Thank you so much for everyone who's been chiming in with questions. Beth Alexander from Zinc 360 says, a great event so far. Really enjoying hearing from multiple companies. Some great insights. And thank you for all of those comments. We're moving on to the next section of the show. This is what we call Market Watch, and it's going to be a cornerstone of the show. It's going to be something like Industry Spotlight. We're going to have Market Watch here every month. We have Westwood Global Energy Group. We have Energy Industry Council. We have Norman Broadbent. So we'll start off by bringing, if I can just bring on, we've got Alex Middleton, from Senior Market Analyst from, hold on, I've lost my place there, Westwood Global. Nice to have you with us, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me. I'm good, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm going to bring on Director of Market Intel at EIC, Neil. Neil Golding is here as well. Good to have you with us. How are you? I don't think we've got your audio. If you want to just have a wee flicker about with your audio, Neil, and change your mic settings, we'll come back to you. In the meantime, I will bring on John. We've got John Begley from Norman Broadbent, MD of Energy and Industrial Practice. How are you, John?
Very well, thanks, Eric. How are you?
Good stuff. I think Neil's just ran away to get another mic set. Let's see if he's with us now. Are you there? Nope, still not there. So bottom set of the screen, hit settings, into audio, and see if we can pick up on another mic. We'll come back to Neil in just a second. We always get little technical glitches, and it's our first show. It was going too well. That was the problem. So you guys are going to be covering our Market Watch sector. So all the industry insights, all the trends and swings that we're seeing going on in the market. And we're going to start with you, Alex. And you've got a presentation that you'd like to show us. Is that right?
I do, yeah. I'll just try and
so the floor is yours. We had a dry run with this earlier on, and it went swimmingly. Yeah, so just share your screen and take it from there. If we have any trouble, I can do it. But yeah, I think we're going to be okay.
Can you see that?
Oh, we can. It's wonderful.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm just going to take 5 minutes today to introduce Westwood Global Energy Group and our contribution to OGV Energy Magazine.
Brilliant.
So for anyone not familiar with Westwood, we provide 3 core services to help organizations answer their strategic, commercial, and technical questions. We offer subscription-based research, reports and insights, and consulting services.
Very good.
Every month, we provide OGV with some key stats and data covering the offshore field development from our Subsea Logics tool, offshore drilling rigs from our Rig Logics tool, and offshore wind from Wind Logics. So I'm just going to give a brief market update provided by our experts from each sector.
Good stuff.
Our field development charts cover offshore oil and gas EPC contract awards, global subsea tree awards, floating production system throughput, and an outlook with EPC awards expected from 2022 to 26. So as global economies cautiously emerge from strict lockdowns, offshore oil and gas related EPC award values experienced a 187% increase compared to 2020, closing at around 42 billion, driven by 63 offshore FIDs. Looking ahead to EPC contracting activities in 2022, there is renewed optimism, with around 8.5 billion of award value already recorded in the first 15 days of this year. Based on reported E&P offshore field development plans, Westwood anticipates EPC award value to total 75 billion in 2022, driven by 100 FIDs and 337 subsea tree awards.
Wow.
Okay, moving on now, if it'll let me.
See, it was going so well.
It was. No, it's not letting me. Here we are.
There you go.
So this is the offshore rig update. We provide jackup, semi-sub, and drillship rig counts, month-to-month changes in contract backlog, and fleet utilization. So on that, the light blue is effective utilization, so that does not include cold stacked rigs. And the dark blue line there is total utilization. So the global jackup rig count was 490 in December, and effective utilization was 82%. During 2021, the number of contracted jackups increased by 25, representing an 8% growth. In terms of supply, 4 new jackups were delivered and 16 exited the fleet. Of the 16 jackups, only 5 were scrapped, and the remaining units were either converted into wind installation vessels, mobile offshore production units, or other non-drilling purposes. The global semi-sub rig count was 101, and utilization fell by 4% at the end of December. Semi-sub supply declined overall in 2021, as 12 rigs were removed from service versus 1 new build delivered. Contracted backlog reduced by 4,600 days, which is a 13% reduction year on year. The drillship rig count fell to 95, and effective utilization edged up to 78%. During 2021, 5 drillships exited the fleet, and 1 new build was delivered. So the drillship sector has undergone a stronger recovery compared to semi-subs, with a contract backlog growth of 12,000 days and 36% increase year on year. Demand for floaters in 2022 is expected to trend upward, with the limited availability of drillships continuing to push day rates higher. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick offshore wind update. So here we look at offshore wind turbines awarded by OEM and by status. So this currently covers the period 2019 to 22 year to date. Westwood also provides an outlook for offshore wind turbines expected. Last year was a record-breaking one for the offshore wind sector, with 18.6 gigawatts of capacity added globally, versus 6.3 gigawatts in 2020. Mainland China accounted for the lion's share of global capacity with 86%, backed by a rush to bring capacity online ahead of the expiry of federal feed-in tariffs by the end of the year. Total turbine awards for 2021 stands at 897, representing a retraction from the 981 orders registered in 2020. 509 turbine orders are anticipated over the course of this year. 2022 turbine orders will be driven by projects in the UK, and in 2023, orders will be driven by projects in the US, but there'll also be projects in countries such as Japan, Poland, UK, and Germany, who are expected to make firm orders. So setting the industry up for an exciting year ahead is the recent release of results from the highly anticipated ScotWind leasing round. With an initial expectation of a total of 10 gigawatts, ScotWind surprised the industry with 24.8 gigawatts allocated to 17 successful bids. So that's all for my 5 minutes,
Very
Eric.
good. No, it was excellent. So much in 5 minutes. I'm really going to put you on the spot here, and I'm sorry to do it. I'm sorry to do this, Alex. You mentioned EPC investment. From your analysis and your thinking, which regions do you think are going to drive offshore EPC investment in 2022?
Okay, so South America and the Middle East are expected to drive offshore EPC investments this year. They account for about 46% of anticipated contract value. Brazil will continue to account for the majority of regional spend due to Petrobras's continued investment in its pre-salt basin. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Outstanding. Thank you so much for that. Lots and lots for us to think about there. And if you want to further that conversation, please connect with Alex and take the conversation further. Now we're going to move to Neil. Neil, do you have your audio? We still don't have audio. Don't know what it is. Try going into the settings at the bottom of the screen and see if we can set it up there. If not, maybe unplug your headphones and just maybe drive it off the computer. Have we got you? No, I don't think so. I'll tell you what we'll do. Have a tinker around in settings and see if we can sort that out. We're going to go to John Begley, MD of Energy and Industrial Practice at Norman Broadbent. John, how are you to start off with? How's the last couple of years seen the kind of work that you're in? If you want to frame up exactly what you focus on as well, that'd be great at Norman Broadbent.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Eric. The last couple of years have been very interesting for Norman Broadbent. Just to sort of give you a bit of an intro to the business, I'm the MD of Norman Broadbent's Energy and Industrial Practice. So we cover traditional hydrocarbon industries, the renewables sector, power generation, and petrochemicals. So it covers the whole sort of energy value chain, and it's been really interesting from a market perspective because there's been different push and pull factors for each one of those parts of the sector or parts of the industry. Quite fortunate as an organisation, Norman Broadbent, that we have a real depth of expertise in hydrocarbons and a real depth of expertise in the renewable sector. So as those two industries have got closer together, we've been able to rely on the expertise in each area to advise our clients and help them along with different projects. So Norman Broadbent is the oldest executive search firm in the UK. Very strong heritage, established in the 70s, and we do 4 key things. So obviously executive search, which for us is the top third of an organisation. We do interim leadership, so we help people with gaps or with projects, leadership consulting, and change and transformation consultancy. So different paces at different times depending on the economic cycle.
Very good, very good. And in terms of key drivers that you've seen leading to leadership change in markets, how would you sum that up?
Yeah, again, it's there's probably been 3 or 4 key drivers. Over the past 3 or 4 years in the North Sea, particularly, we've seen lots of different M&A activity, new businesses created, asset disposals by the large oil companies. And that's driven quite a lot of change and activity at a senior level. The pandemic has also obviously had an effect, but the effect that it's had is that as businesses have refocused their strategies and energy transition as well, there's been new strategies have been developed, and sometimes leaders have decided they don't want to be the ones to take it on for the next 5 or 6 years. So there's been changes at the top. And as I mentioned earlier on, that move from traditional hydrocarbons to a more energy transition focused economy has had a real driving effect on senior recruitment.
Yeah, clearly. We've spoken a lot throughout the show about the shift from or the energy transition, and clearly in the business that you're very front and center in that, with people aiming to make the transition occupationally. So What is your view on the ability of leadership talent to come out of traditional hydrocarbon-based industries and move into more renewables-focused businesses? What have you seen?
Yeah, I think the attitudes to that have changed quite considerably over the past 12 months. In fact, there was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a reticence from hydrocarbon-focused executives to move into more renewable-focused sectors. That's really changed. The ability for those sectors to receive executives from the oil and gas sector has also changed. So the skill sets that have been inherent, subsurface, offshore, etc., are now really transferable into the renewable sector. And a lot of oil and gas businesses have become much more renewables focused themselves. So it's been fascinating to watch, and I think that the trend will continue. That there'll be you'll be able to transition between one or the other and backwards and forwards. It's going to become much more of a holistic energy sector, I think.
Oh, fantastic! So you mentioned there the shift, the transition from a practical industry to another industry. What about the transition from thinking and mindset, what some people could maybe bracket as softer issues, the behavioral type of executive coaching type of things? Has the mindset of the leaders changed? And if so, how are leaders expected to adapt these days to new industries and new ways of thinking, particularly over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I think that there has been a general attitudinal change across the industry to see both sides of traditional hydrocarbons and oil and gas and the renewable sector as similar in a lot of respects. In order to identify candidates or identify executives who've got the right attitudes and behavioural competencies, companies are asking us to really delve into the behavioural and psychometric evaluation of leaders, so that it's more of an intrinsic value set rather than this is new and shiny, let's go over here.
Right.
So it's quite an interesting dynamic, I think. What's also becoming much more prevalent is that real depth of belief in sustainability.
Right.
And that's sustainability of the oil and gas sector, as well as sustainability of the planet and our natural resources.
Oh, outstanding. Thank you so much for that. Lots to learn. And we're going to be checking back in with Norman Broadbent and Westwood Global at future editions of this show. For now, we're going to go back to EIC, to Neil. I think we have audio.
Can you hear me, Eric?
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful.
The joys of modern technology. Excellent.
Exactly. No, it's good to have you with us. We heard a bit from Alex and previous guests about South America. Outside of Brazil, which you've written about in the magazine, what other opportunities are you seeing moving forward in South America?
Thank you, Eric, for that. And yes, we are seeing some very notable opportunities right now in the South American market that are underway. Market of particular interest right now is Guyana, where we're seeing ExxonMobil progress its Liza and Yellowtail developments in the prolific Stabroek development area. But probably lesser known in the market is CGX Energy, who've recently made an announcement of a breakthrough discovery with the Kawa-1 wildcat in the Quarantine block, which is, of course, located offshore Guyana. CGX are also planning to drill a second commitment well, We-1, and that is due to be drilled in the northwestern part of the Quarantine block. So Guyana being one market, and a neighbouring market as well is also of interest, Suriname, where we've seen Petronas back in 2020 make a significant discovery, Slonia-1, and we're now seeing right now a seismic acquisition being undertaken in that area by PGS. And then also we have Total Energies, who of course are making waves in various different industry sectors at the moment, and still really very committed to oil and gas, and we're seeing their Block 58 development program as well, which includes the Maka Central development within that country, and we've seen recent awards made to MODEC for a FEED contract on that particular project.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. It was interesting to read about and hear about the CCUS opportunity in Indonesia for enhanced oil recovery. Any other opportunities popping up in Asia Pacific market that would interest our listeners?
Yeah, and absolutely. And the Indonesian market in particular is seeing a number of CCS and CCUS projects being announced. And one of the projects being the Ramba CCUS EOR project that's being proposed by Pertamina, but we've also got ExxonMobil, BP, and Repsol, all in the early stages of development in the Indonesian market. But elsewhere, we see Malaysia moving forward with a very significant CCS project, phase 2 of the Kasarari development, which is targeting an area with a high carbon dioxide content. And they do plan to inject CO2 in a nearby depleted field. And the first injection of that particular project is expected to be achieved by the end of 2025. Worth noting here that Exodus undertook the concept design work for that project, and we're now expecting imminently formal announcements of a dual feed contract that's been, we believe, has been awarded to groups led by MMHE and MPCC. Elsewhere in the market, you've got Santos, who are investigating options to repurpose the Bayoundan facilities in East Timor as well, and that will once again extend the life of the project and will include carbon capture.
Great stuff. You've mentioned, and you've been writing about East Africa, several large-scale developments underway. You've mentioned Telenga, and of course Mozambique has several large-scale opportunities. Any markets in West Africa that viewers and listeners should be keeping their eye on for future opportunities that are listening today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You've obviously got the mature markets of Nigeria and Angola here, and Total Energies is again very active in the Angolan market at the moment, and we're aware that there are 3 contractor groups vying to provide Total Energies with a converted FPSO for feed studies to the operator, and we're expecting that's on the Kwanza Basin deep water hub. So Angola's a definite market of interest. A new market that's opened up very recently is Namibia. A lot has been made of the recent announcement of light oil being discovered by Shell at the Graph 1 well in, let's say, an offshore Namibia, and they're drilling that particular well drilled that discovery, with Qatar Energy and Namcor, and are expected to drill an appraisal well. But also, news is coming out right now that Total has discovered potentially a 1 billion barrel oil prospect through its drilling of Venus. So that's definitely one to watch. And then a little bit further south, you've got South Africa as well, which has got the Lipid gas condensate discovery, which could be developed with the Brulpadda discovery. So it's a real mix of mature and frontier basins that we're seeing emerge in terms of West Africa.
Listen, fantastic. This is going to be a brilliant feature on this show moving forward, this Market Watch piece. Thank you so much for your time. Alex from Westwood Global, Neil from EIC, and John from Norman Broadbent. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch up with you guys again. See you later. Thank you.
Thank you all. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Fantastic. We're now moving into the last section of our show. This is where we turn the spotlight to our OGV community members. This is where we've imaginatively titled this section, well, Dan Hyland has imaginatively titled this section, OGV Community News. Should really have its own jingle. Today we have with us, if I can just bring them on, we have the brilliant Steve Simpson from Brimmen Group. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Eric. Not bad. Yourself?
Brilliant. Great that you've got no mic issues. That's excellent. We've also got John Butler from Global Maritime. How are you, sir?
Hi, Eric. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. And we've got the brilliant Amy McKeown from Regen Robotics. Look at that. The best looking screen we've had so far today. Look at this. Brilliant. Excellent. Wonderful. How's everyone? How's the vibe about the new show?
Brilliant. I like the feedback so far. It's been really good in the comments. So excellent so far, Eric.
Absolutely.
Really
so
good.
we've got Steve, John, and Amy here, all OGV community members from their companies, Brimmen Group, Global Maritime, and Regen. Please ask them questions. Please jump in with comments. We've had some great stuff coming, and we're in the last section of the show. Yeah, this is where we turn it on you guys and just basically check in and see how it's going. Steve, we're going to start with you. For those who don't know, I can't imagine there will be many on this show. High level overview of Brimmen Group and what you guys focus on.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Yeah, Brimmen Group. Last year we celebrated 25 years of business. So very quickly, we specialise in design, manufacture, rental, and repair of a wide variety of lifting, mechanical, and hydraulic equipment for industry. Now, oil and gas has been predominantly the main sector over the years. In the last probably 5-6 years, however, that we have progressed and moved into, I suppose you would call it the energy transition, but a number of sectors, whether that be decommissioning, subsea, naval services, last couple of years been renewables as well. So just trying to get a bit of traction with different sectors. Equipment-wise, a wide variety of hydraulic and pneumatic and electric equipment, again, covering various projects. But yeah, project specialists, really.
Very good. Very good. And if I'm not mistaken, you're celebrating 2 new distributor and agency agreements recently.
We are. It's like waiting for a bus. It took ages to get one over the line and then 2 appear at the same time. So yeah, particularly in the marine crane lifting side of the business, we've actually been a representative for a crane company for about 9 years. And we're looking to grow the market, diversify. So we've just recently signed with a marine crane company called Hyla Marine Cranes, who are one of the largest providers of marine cranes globally. So we're actually going to be the UK and Ireland agent and distributor for them. So that's really exciting. So we can actually grow. Even the likes of Hyla's previous projects, is the likes of Sir David Attenborough. They had the full lift and spread on that, for example.
Right.
So we're looking to develop that.
Not Boaty McBoatface.
Not Boaty McBoatface, no. And then the other one is a German pump company called Kamat, who specialise in high pressure plunger pumps. And we've been building quite a few units over the last couple of years, using their pumps as major components. So the relationships develop from there. So again, we're looking to evolve our provisions, what we can actually utilise their pumps for as a
Outstanding. A busy winter period? Has it been unusually busy or normal or a bit under?
It's been busy. The winter period is historically a busy period. Normally it's rental packages going out, but I think this quarter in particular, manufacturing wise, has been one of the busiest to date, which is great. We've got 2 major projects ongoing right now, one of which is a high pressure pump unit for a global subsea operator. So this pump is capable of pressurizing pipelines of various diameter and obviously various kilometers in length. So that's a really good, and we're actually utilizing Kamat pumps for that unit. And other one is we're building 7 conductor tension system HPUs as well, which is for an overseas project. So yeah, and with ongoing other things, we have crane refurbs ongoing for the Navy. We have other units going out for projects.
It's just all go. How's the rental side of the business doing?
Yeah, very good. We've kind of listened to our clientele over the last couple of years. We've evolved that. We've grown it. It's probably doubled, if not more, in the last 4 or 5 years. Again, dabbling into different sectors, Eric, has helped us invest organically into more equipment, particularly decommissioning and the subsea sectors has been major for us, whether it's our modular marine crane packages, working on decom projects, or deck packages for projects supporting tooling and things like that.
Superb. Thank you so much. We'll circle back to you before we're ending it, because we're going to ask these lovely people that are listening to or watching the show to jump in and ask Amy, John, and Steve as much questions or as many questions as you have. For now, thank you, Steve. We're going to move to John Butler at Global Maritime, the global lead for energy transition. I was keeping an eye on the chat in the green room there. You're getting there's a lot of pressure on you to keep it to 5 minutes. People must know that you've got a reputation, John Butler.
I can't imagine what they're thinking of, Eric. I can't imagine that.
How the devil are you, and how are things at Global Maritime?
Brilliant. Yeah, great to be here, and thanks for the invite. It's great to be as a community member with OGV to be invited onto these things. That's great for that. But to be honest, really busy at the moment, which is great. And to be honest, what I've heard throughout the whole hour is how the positivity, even from people in the comments about things that are happening, and you get the sense that there's a growing sort of confidence and enthusiasm within the industry. And I think that's a lot down to the fact that it's kind of broadening, so diverse now. And even within Global Maritime, we operate within shipping, renewables, traditional oil and gas, and aquaculture. And even going back to listen to Neil right at the beginning, when we talk about, sort of the blue economy, I think that's something that's so vibrant at the moment now, and there's so much opportunity in it, that it allows for that, sort of that ambition and that enthusiasm. And for ourselves, you can see over my shoulder there, it's the blue sea thinking, so
yep.
Very much we're kind of embedded within that blue economy, and that's an area to be thriving at the moment.
So for those who've maybe missed it, for maybe those who haven't checked out the website, or that for whatever reason in the world don't follow you, what is the Global Maritime? What is it exactly you're focusing on? What you delivering to the markets?
Yeah, so I guess we're a marine consultancy for over 40 years now, and within sort of the group itself, probably one of the dominant features is working in marine warranty surveying. So
right,
for that's working with underwriters, operators, developers, in order to ensure that that equipment that they have had designed and are about to install is done so in an effective manner. So because we're a company that's broadly have master mariners, naval architects, marine engineers, for us it's all about sort of things that float, and we want to make sure they remain floating for the integrity of the project and the success of the project itself. So from our side, sort of some of the recent projects that we've had, we've finished the marine warranty for the decommissioning of the logs sort of platform, which are 5 bridge link platforms in the southern North Sea. And our work as a marine warranty surveyors on that is about being offshore during the operations, but also providing that third party review for the engineering, the dismantling, the procedures, and that goes down to everything from simply, from aspects of looking at the weather window to ensure that sort of certain activities can be undertaken in a broad enough period to ensure that they're decommissioned and the heavy lifts are done at an appropriate time. Now, that's not us instructing; that's us making sure that so that the procedures are being adhered to, and that our recommendations are kind of recognised and followed in those areas. And but the engineering design is a great aspect to be a part of, because having reviewed that really makes you ensure that the safety and the requirements for these types of lifts are undertaken in the most appropriate manner.
Oh, fantastic. Now, we tend to think about innovation and new service offerings coming from the people who are into the hardware, but you guys have launched some new service offerings as well, right?
Yeah, so I guess it's interesting, Ross's question around about the digitization for the offshore and the subsea areas. So when we look at, so a lot of what we do in Global Maritime is about wedding the technical competencies, but also with our own proprietary software. So that's using GMOR for mooring system analysis, or most recently, again, we've had a DP assurance framework agreement agreed with Fugro globally. Now, what we've done there is we work with a company called Unicy, who create a platform, and that digital platform allows the ship owner to manage all their marine operations manuals, their DP audits, their engineering systems for the vessel across the whole fleet. And so our work there is about performing the DP audits itself, updating marine manuals, operations manuals. But the beauty of the software is that if you need to have the same manual for all your fleet, then the software itself allows you to update immediately all the vessel assurance, all the marine operations documents across the whole fleet. And also the head office have that as well. So what it does is it creates that efficiency. It eliminates the need for multiple sort of parties get involved with different vessels, and it consolidates the whole thing, and then really uses the data to accelerate the deployment, but also the accuracy. Because what it gives you then is a single source of truth, which I think when we talk about digitalization, I think one of the important things to talk about is transparency. So basically, by having that single source of truth, then you're ensuring that your entire fleet is able to be accompanied by that digital solution.
Oh, phenomenal. Thank you so much, John. We'll come back to you just before we're heading away. Amy McKeown, Marketing and BD Executive at Regen Robotics. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. How are you?
Oh, fantastic! Just terrific. For those who don't know, can you give us a wee bit of a headline on Regen Robotics and what you guys focus on?
Yeah, of course. So probably in comparison to John and Steve, we're I suppose in our infancy, would you say, for the company. We are in our 4th year of operation now. But I suppose you could say we are a loud, relentless baby at this stage. We are the first Zone 0 EX certified, remote controlled, no man entry robotic tank cleaning company, and that is across the UK and Europe. So
Zone 0.
Yeah, Zone 0 certified.
Incredible.
So it's obviously we place a high premium on workplace safety, and it's something that is in the company's DNA, and our state-of-the-art equipment obviously is just keeping our workers safe and not exposing them to the dangers that are obviously posed daily in these operations in confined space environments. So it's something that we will not say we know it all, but we're definitely en route to researching and developing everything as best we can to try and sort of face any challenges that come our way.
Fantastic. And for those who keep tabs on Regen Robotics, you'll have noticed there's some industry news about a new HQ, a new facility. What's that all about, and what are you going to use that for?
Yeah, so basically our headquarters are here based in Northern Ireland. So as you can imagine, we don't really have a lot of work based over here. A lot of our work is based over in the UK. So the last couple of years have been a really exciting time for the company, and we've made substantial investments across all key areas of the business, really, including our people, service offering, and most recently our new headquarters and research and development facilities. So this is all in preparation really for our predicted sort of international growth. So in addition to our HQ, which obviously houses our project management team and engineers, we also have a high-tech engineering and robotics hub that's been designed. And these just have bays installed to service our growing number of robots and tankers. So staffing levels as well probably have doubled in the last year, with more design engineers, robotic operators, and also project managers are being recruited now in the springtime. So we've taken on, I think, 2 that we can confirm new oil majors in the last month, and we're in the running for a landmark decommissioning project, which we hope to announce in the very near future. So the HQ was a long time coming. It's nice to be able to have everyone in one spot so we can bounce our ideas off each other.
Fantastic. And just a reminder to our viewers, if you have any questions for these guys, please drop them into the comments. There's only a few minutes left of the show, but we still have them here, so grab them while you can. A company like yourselves, Amy, must be fairly advanced and investing quite a lot in R&D. What's the sort of current focus on R&D like right now?
Yeah, so obviously across the board, I think across the whole industry, there's definitely a genuine 100% no man entry tank cleaning appetite out there. This is where we're hoping to make obviously a monumental difference. So our state-of-the-art sort of technology at the moment is obviously continuing to eradicate, I suppose, industry fatalities, and it's hugely decreasing all the risk categories by obviously eliminating the human exposure to the confined space. But we're currently working on a lot of new product development for a range of telemetry technology that we have in our vacuum trucks. So this is technology that allows our robotic operators to be obviously able to provide real-time telemetry and statistics of how the tank clean is going. So things like the waste that's being generated, the water that's being used,
Yeah.
things like that. So along with that, we do have new tech for our control units, our robots, and ancillary equipment such as multiple washing and suction heads. So it'll just allow us to carry out more and more diverse tasks remotely. So we have a whole raft of new cleaning technology that we're hoping to launch in the coming months, and our team are working hard on new patents as well to obviously ensure that the innovation is protected as well.
And what do you think of personally, what do you think are sort of like growth predictions for the year ahead?
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, I suppose as we continue to innovate our technology, all of our UK contracts that we currently work in with the oil majors, they're naturally expanding into the Europe and rest of the world counterparts. So as our reputation, I suppose, for safety in the tank cleaning sector is now global, we've had interest from oil companies and terminal operators in the US, Dubai, Africa, you name it. We've probably heard from them. So as we intend to obviously double the head count, we'll have more heads to butt together. And by Q3, we'll probably also double our capacity in terms of our equipment. So I'd say this year we will be heading into mainland Europe, and by the end of Q4, we are hoping to have completed our first international 100% no-man entry tank clean. So we're currently running cleaning contracts with many of the oil majors, such as Shell, Vermilion, Phillips 66 and Valero, with more coming on board in the coming months. So hopefully just on the up from here.
It's been great to hear from the three of you and what your companies are doing. It's absolutely magnificent. We don't have any more questions at this point. I'd like to thank John, Amy, and Stephen for their time, and we will catch up with you guys soon. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Ta-ra. Bye-bye. Just clear that all off there. So we've got some nice closing statements, and I think generally we can say that OGV Energy Live's been a big success. It's been interesting to watch. Great idea, bringing the magazine to life. Fantastic. I think it's gone down really well. So there we have it, the first OGV Energy Live, and wasn't it great? I'd like to thank all of our guests today for letting us have a window into their busy lives. Very good of them to take time out of their schedules to be with us. And we look forward to seeing you all again on Thursday, March the 24th at 2 p.m, when the theme of the OGV Energy Magazine will be on innovation and technology, and therefore the Energy Live will be on the same theme. So if your company or your organization works in the innovation and technology space and you'd like to be on doing what these lovely people did today, simply get in touch at office@ogvenergy.co.uk, and we'll put that in the chat so that you can see it. So have a think right now, and if you'd like to be on the show, absolutely you can be, and it's just a matter of getting in touch. Otherwise, OGV Energy, look forward to meeting you with many other industry players at Subsea Expo next Tuesday, where they'll be on stand 99. Be sure to drop past and say hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again.